Good afternoon, everybody. It's that time of the month again where we engage with our US Exchange Program alumni into what we call our Alumni Talks of the month. So Alumni Talks is really an initiative where we invite different US Exchange Program alumni who have went on our different US Exchange to really come and have a 1 hour engagement with you, our audience, and you, our community people, just to tell you more about the different US exchange program that we have and the importance of this exchange program, both to the Namibian communities, as well as also some of the impact that some of our alumni have really, gained and acquired during their different US exchange program. So welcome again. My name is Joseph Chiho, and I serve as the alumni coordinator. And for this engagement and this afternoon, we are joined by none other than one of our Mandela Washington Fellowship alumni, and that is none other than Ms. Elzaan de Vier. So a little bit about Elzaan de Vier before we dive into our conversation is that Elzaan de Vier is really the founder of Zana Productions and Theatre, a company specializing in the dramatic arts, community engagement, and entrepreneurship consulting. Alongside her role as founder, Elzaan she is actively involved as an actress, community facilitator, and a drama educator. With a decade of experience, she excels in coordinating artistic events, leading community workshops, and teaching drama to her students ranging from the age groups of children to adults. Elzaan studied at the College of the Arts, specializing in theater and arts entrepreneurship. In 2015, Elzaan participated, of course, in the Mandela Washington Fellowship for Young African Leaders program, where she studied civic leadership. She also applied an international associate at Wagner College in Staten Island, New York. Her portfolio includes significant contributions to community development, entrepreneurship, and international collaborations within her field of work. In 2024, which we are going to dive more and discuss more about it with Elzaan, is that Elzaan became the first Namibian Mandela Washington Fellowship alumni to serve as the Masters of Ceremony at the 2024 Fellowship Summit in Washington, D.C., alongside a fellow Kenyan alumni in honor of the fellowship 10th year anniversary. So without wasting any time, Elzaan, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon, Josephat. I am very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm really good. It's very good, and we are very happy and honored to have you here as one of our alumni for the Mandela Washington Fellowship Program. But before we dive, I know I've given a speech about you. I've introduced you. I don't know if I was bragging about you, but maybe to give you the floor, who or how would you define yourself as Elzaan?
Thank you, Josephat. Let me also start by thanking the U.S. Embassy Namibia for this opportunity and for this platform to speak as well and to share with my fellow Namibian youth and to also engage. So I really appreciate this opportunity. Elzaan de Vier is a creative entrepreneur. I absolutely love the arts. In particularly, I love theater, I love acting, and then of course, I love working with children and I love empowering youth through entrepreneurship as well.
No, thank you so much also. And also just one thing that I've omitted to highlight to our audience is that, this is really an informal conversation and dialogue that we're having with Elzaan about her experience in the US. And we are really also reaching out to you to post any questions or any comments that you might have, either with regards to the exchange program or anything that you particularly want to find out from Elzaan or from the embassy. So please do share your comments and your inputs in our chat, and then we can also further the engagement and answer some of the questions that you are having. So I know that you went on an exchange program to the US, but for our viewers, I'm sure that they would like to know more in terms of what exchange program did you went on, which year did you went on, at which university, what triggered you to actually apply for this exchange program. So maybe just tell us about, the exchange program that you've went on.
Mm. Thank you so much, Josephat. Let me start off by again highlighting that I love theater, that I love the arts, and I also work as an actor. So I am an absolute proud Namibian. Let me start off by saying that. However, I also have a love for the US. I absolutely love the United States of America. And it has always been my dream, and I genuinely and sincerely mean that it has always been my dream to go to the States and to also experience the States and to have that international experience as well as to collaborate and network. In 2015, this opportunity arose. I've always been connected in terms of attending workshops to the US embassies, whether that was a CV writing workshop or a grant writing workshop, but I've always been engaged with the embassy, and I always attended the free events that the embassy used to host, whether it's this workshop on grant writing, a workshop on CV writing, and that's how I heard about the Mandela Washington Fellowship for Young African Leaders program. Now, at the time, I was 24 in 2015, and I remember that the requirement was you needed to be 25 to apply for the program. But I was like, nope, I don't care. I'm just gonna apply. I'm not gonna let anything hold me back. I'm gonna take a chance and I'm gonna apply for this awesome opportunity. So I remember that I submitted my application while I was still 24 years old. And it was an extensive application. As you know, you're also a Mandela Washington Fellowship alumni. I applied. I wasn't intimidated by the application process. I also remember that I used to attend workshops that the previous alumni hosted, in terms of how do you fill in the application form, how do you write your essays, how do you market yourself as a Namibian, because, the application will be, at that time, it was reviewed by US officials, US individuals. So it was also important for me to market myself and to really put myself out there confidently in that application. So I also appreciate the fact that the embassy gave me that platform to also attend workshops to help me prepare for that application process. So it wasn't that of a daunting task to me. So I submitted the application. I was invited for the interview at the American Corner when the American Corner was still in the Sanlam building. I attended the interview, and then I found out that I was selected for the program. It's also good to know, Josephat, that when I submitted my application form, they actually placed me at a state, and the state is New York City. I've always wanted to go to New York because of the theater, the vibrancy of the arts. And for me, it was an absolute dream come true. It was an absolute dream come true. Because as I mentioned, as an artist, as an actor, I've always dreamed of America. And this was really my first opportunity going to America. And not to say that I was going anywhere to America, I was actually going to the destination that was in my heart. So for me, that was absolutely just a dream come true. And I believe that that was God's hand on my life. I could have been placed anywhere in the US, at any state, but they placed me at New York City, the entertainment theater capital hub of the world. So for me, that was a dream come true already right there.
Awesome. No, thank you so much for also highlighting on that. I know that the Mandela Washington Fellowship program is one of our different US exchange program that we have, and it's really one of the program that is mostly known. This is where the whole Alumni Talks was birthed from. It's just to really showcase that it's not only the Mandela Washington Fellowship that we have, but we have other different US exchange program that anybody can take out. I know that we are also going to dive more in terms of the application, how complex it is and everything. And some people feel demotivated. Some of them, they always keep on reaching out to us like, okay, what other exchange program do you have that are for people over the age of 35 or below the ages of 25, which you've highlighted in your application. But we're going to dive into that also. And for all of you that are viewing us live on our Facebook page, please do not forget to also ask any questions that you are having to Elzaan. I know that you highlighted that, you were in New York, which is, the birthplace, the city that you love the most, where you really had a great time. And that really resonates well also with your artistic background. So maybe just dive a little bit more into us in terms of the whole Mandela Washington Fellowship program. What does it really entails? How was your exchange program in New York City? How long were you there? And what were some of the things that you were doing also during this exchange program? Just to give a glimpse to our audience in terms of what really is entailed into the whole exchange program.
Okay. At the time when I went on the program in 2015, they took 500 young African leaders. So we were a smaller cohort as to how it is now with a larger number. So we were 25 Africans that were all placed in New York City at Wagner College. all coming from different African countries. I was the only Namibian and the first Namibian that was placed at this institution. And this was also an art school that had that background of arts as well, where I was exposed to the opportunities where I could network, collaborate with other artists. And I also know that the program was really set up in such a way where you were able to connect with fellow young Africans. As I mentioned, there were 24 other Africans, 25 of us in total. So it was an opportunity for me to learn about Africa, to connect with other young African leaders. And it was also an opportunity for me to dive into the American culture. Apart from the in-classroom activities where we learned at the university, and our topics were around arts, around NGOs, let me also mention that I went on the civic leadership track. At that time, I was only focused on community development, working in the civic space with NGOs. So I was exposed to different NGOs, to projects that different NGOs do, also in relation to art. So what I really appreciated about the program is that when they went through my application form, they looked at my interest, they looked at the type of field and the industry where I worked in. And when I went to the US, all of those things were listed on our programs. So we had an opportunity to go and visit an art school, to go and visit schools that focus on the art, schools that focus on civic engagement, civic leadership, basically the interest that you have. And all the other 25 young African leaders, they also work in the civic leadership space. So a lot of our program were tailored around what we were there for, what we wanted to learn. So it was really an amazing, eye-opening experience where we had the opportunity to network, where we learned how to pitch, how to market ourselves. And one thing that I also say stood out to me, and what I really learned at this institution and being exposed to international platforms, is that the people market themselves. The people speak confidently. The people speak boldly. And I know sometimes it's a very daunting task if you have to go and speak in front of people, but there I learned that no, you have to sell yourself. You have to market yourself. And if someone asks you, Elzaan, what do you do? That is an opportunity for you in that 1 minute to do an elevator pitch and to really sell yourself, because you don't know who you're speaking to. What I also learned in the US is that the Americans that I was exposed to during the program, they love to connect you to other individuals. They love and they value networking. So every time I was asked, Elzaan, who are you? That was an opportunity for me to network. That was an opportunity for me to sell myself, to be confident, to speak about the work that I do back home in Namibia. And immediately the conversation would continue. Oh, I know so-and-so who does exactly that. I should connect the two of you. You two should meet. So I also really appreciated the willingness to share resources, the willingness to connect, the willingness to also put you in touch and for you to network with other individuals who are interested in the arts and interested in the spaces that you work in. So I would absolutely say it was, for me professionally, a life-changing experience. I did not come back the same, thinking the same way. And of course, I was in America, a country that I've always dreamed of dreaming. So there was the in-classroom learning experience, and then there was also the out of classroom learning experience, where I got to experience the culture of the US. I got to experience the city, the surroundings. And for me, it was just a wonderful experience.
No, thank you so much, Elzaan, for that. I know that, there's always a say that says that, when you are craving for something or when you want something, some of the good things do not really come easy. And this is one of the things that we've been feeling and also experiencing from some of our applicants who have been applying and been trying to apply for this exchange program. Some people, are lucky they get selected already in one go. Other people have to apply for the second and the third time and so forth. And one of the key questions that, always arise was, on the complexity and on the intensive of the questions of their fellowship. So maybe from your experience, how were the questions? Were they easy to answer? Did you feel motivated to answer them? Were there too many? How did you overcome that? What was your motivating factor to really push through and eventually be selected for this exchange program?
Thank you so much, Josephat. I would also like to start by saying I knew a few of my fellows who applied more than once, just like you said now. So I just want to encourage anyone that applied and that might not have gotten this opportunity to just reapply. Please do not give up. Do not ever give up. Reapply. One thing that I would also encourage is that you start the application way in advance. Do not wait for the last day or a few days before the deadline to send your application. Start the application in advance. I also know that on the system, as you apply, you can save your work, you can save your application, and you can always come back and revise your application, to edit it, to review it over and over again. So I would say what really helped me was, as I mentioned earlier, I was connected and I was engaged with alumni that went on previously US funded program. It was not only the Mandela Washington Fellowship program, it was also individuals that went on the Fulbright program, the IVLP program. So I would encourage anyone wanting to apply, connect with an alumni that already went through this application form, an alumni that knows the process, not to fill in the application form for you, of course, but to just also encourage you and to motivate you, because attending those workshops on how do you write an application really helped me. I know what stood out was that it's very important that you market yourself, that you believe in yourself, and that you really sell yourself in that application form. Do not think small. I was writing all of my wildest dream when they asked you, where do you see yourself in 5 years from now? I was writing out every wildest dream that I have, every vision, and not limiting myself, but really saying, this and this is what I want to do. How do I want the program to help me? And I was very specific, but I also didn't undersell myself. I really sold myself and I really worked on my application. So I would say, work on your application, start in advance, and connect with alumni. Connect with alumni, sell yourself, answer these questions boldly. Do not be intimidated. There are some essay questions, but and oh yes, one thing I want to mention is break down the question. Sometimes you would find that one question has a few parts in that question. Break it down individually, write it down, always revise, revisit, proofread. If you also want someone to proofread your application, ask someone to proofread your application. It cannot do harm, of course. But I would say start way in advance and believe in yourself.
Right. You have went on an exchange program. You gain a lot of skills and knowledge. You network, as you have highlighted. You went to your best city that you've always dreamed of going to. So highlight to us, and maybe also tell us, in terms of what were some of the initiatives that you have, managed to implement and to plow back in your communities post your return from this exchange program.
Okay. When I came back, as you know, I started Zana Productions and Theatre. I also realized that when I came back, there was a shift. As I mentioned, I used to work in the civic leadership space only. But there was a shift in terms of Elzaan. You need to start thinking sustainably now. You can't only think that your work can only happen at a certain period of time, but you need to think long term now. So I think when I came back, I really also started beginning to think entrepreneurial. How do I make my work sustainable, and how do I create opportunities for myself? This was a leadership program where I really was exposed to other leaders, and where I know that my life was not only for me to go to the States and to experience it there, but it was also important for me to come back home and come and plow back home, to also share with the Namibians that didn't go to the US what I learned and how we can apply that and bring all of those knowledge and skills back, and also to come empower the youth here. So I would absolutely say that I had an interest in entrepreneurship. I had an interest in starting my own business to also create opportunities for other youth that are actors, youth that also want to work, also want to teach. So that was the big thing for me. I would also say one of the things that I really take pride in is fostering my relationship with the US Embassy. I also know that as an alumni, it's also important to come back, to give back to your community, and to also stay connected to the embassy, because it was also the embassy that invested in me, that also played a role in me going to the US. So I also felt that there was that return of investment where I had to come back and to give back. So one thing I want to mention, if you go on this program and come back, avail yourself to the US Embassy when you're invited to come and do a project, whether it be for Mandela Day, whether it be something related to the alumni, avail yourself, be available. Volunteering is also a very big thing and also an important factor. And I would also say that it was because I built my relationship with the embassy, and I stayed connected with the US Embassy upon my return from this program, that I was also able to do the Academy for Women Entrepreneurship program. It was also a program that was piloted for the first time in 2020 in Namibia. And I would also say that it was piloted by alumni that went on US funded programs. It was 2 alumni from the MWF program. It was myself, it was David Seblon, and then Claudine from the IVLP program. And all 3 of us were alumni that went on US funded programs. So you just see the collaboration and the opportunity that exists when you come back and you plow back and you stay connected to the embassy. So I every alumni that go on this project and come back, stay connected to the embassy, avail your time when you're invited to events, opportunities, say yes, network, keep on inspiring the community, keep on plowing back, keep on giving, and don't see it as, oh, it's me volunteering, I have to help again. No, it's you giving back. And as I mentioned, this is one of the things that came out. And there's also another big thing that came out. I was invited this year to be an MC, the Master of Ceremonies, at this year's 2024 Fellowship Summit in honor of the fellowship's 10-year anniversary. And we can also dive into that if there's an opportunity to speak.
Yeah, no, most definitely. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, it is the Alumni Talks. And for those of you that are joining us live, as I've mentioned, is that Alumni Talk is really an opportunity where we invite alumni of our different US exchange program to come and join us virtually on live to really talk about their experience while they were in the US or while they were in, in other African countries on the exchange program. And, provide and perhaps also provide that opportunity to really, inspire you and motivate you to apply to any of our existing exchange programs that are there. They could benefit you now, they could benefit you in 5 or 10 years. But the most important thing is, of course, you taking advantage of the opportunities that are available to you so that you can then be able to plow back in your communities and moving forward. So, and as I've also highlighted is that, please, if you have any question for Elzaan or anything that you'd like to highlight or to mention out, please do not hesitate to reach out also and inbox us or send us, put in a text or into our comment box so that we can, of course, dive into the conversation and make sure that we are also responding to your questions and your queries that you are having. I see that there are some 2 questions here, Elzaan, that were asked to you before we dive also into our other already existing question. One question is, what inspired you to become an actress and how did you get started in the industry?
Awesome. Thank you for that question. I will say that I grew up as an only child. I don't have any brothers or sisters, and I was always exposed to movies, to television growing up. So I always loved watching movies. I always loved it. I enjoyed it. And I always knew that one day I want to be in a movie. I always loved to perform. I always loved to entertain people. And I think it's something that was really, really in my heart from a young age as a child. And I never ever saw myself doing anything else with my life. I've always wanted to do that. How it really specifically started was I applied to the College of the Arts. I applied let me backtrack to high school. I was also exposed to the drama club in my high school. I already knew that I wanted to be an actor in high school. So I availed myself to join the drama club where we had rehearsals in the afternoon where we performed on stage. But I would say where I really started taking it seriously was when I applied to the College of the Arts and I started to apply for the African Performing Arts a program, and I went to the audition, I went to the orientation, and I got selected. And of course, I majored in drama. So that's where my career would start. I was fortunate that the College of the Arts was a very practical college. So I was already exposed to the Namibian arts industry from my first year in college. I already went to auditions. I was already exposed to directors, to working, to plays, to theater, to TV commercials. So I would say that I just went for it. I wasn't scared because I know it's also a scary industry where people also think, no, you're not going to be able to make money. You're not going to be able to live off the arts. But I would also like to encourage you, if you want to pursue this career, create your own opportunities. Do not wait for someone to give you an opportunity. And I think that also ties in with entrepreneurship, where I also realized that I'm a leader now. I can't wait for someone to give me an opportunity, for someone to discover my talents. I need to discover my own talents. I need to create a vehicle, a sustainable vehicle to get me to where I want to be, to my dreams, to my goals. And I saw entrepreneurship as the effective and sustainable method to do that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think more questions are also coming, especially relating to your artistic and your theater background, where another question is like, how can we use arts to advocate for social issues? I know we are in a country where we are experiencing a lot of social issues, a lot of injustice and so forth. But maybe from your experience, how do you think we can, use art to mitigate some of these issues that we are facing?
Okay, awesome. Thank you for the question. I would also like to mention that art connects people from different backgrounds, different cultures, different ages. So it's a very beautiful, beautiful thing to bring people together. That is what art does. It has the power to bring people together and to connect people. To just share a little bit of my experience, I have so much, and I'm not saying that proudful of boastfully, but I have so much experience in terms of going into communities, talking to communities, whether it be children, whether it be youth, whether it be adults, discussing and workshopping and talking about the issues facing their communities, and then bringing those issues on the stage and giving them a platform to perform. I will speak into particularly about a project that I did with youth in the informal settlements of Namibia in partnership with an NGO called the Development Workshop of Namibia. This is an organization that builds sustainable and safe toilets in the informal settlements of Windhoek. So basically how our connection worked is they approached me and Josephat, who's on this call now, also an alum, who also did art and is also passionate about arts. We actually collaborated with this organization and we brought theater and arts and we collaborated, worked with this NGO, and we basically went into communities, started theater groups with the youth in those communities where we discussed what was the social issues in those communities. And I remember that hepatitis E was an issue. I remember that sanitation was an issue. So we basically were faced with this predicament. How do we bring this social issue and raise awareness on this social issue in a fun and creative manner? And I remember that Josephat, you and I went into the communities, we formed youth groups, we formed theater groups where we sat down with the youth. We didn't go there with our views, with our opinions, with what we think we knew, but we sat down, we listened to the youth, and the youth came up with this topic and this idea, all related to the issues and the themes that their community is faced with. So we basically, in my experience, we gave them the tools, the resources on how do you bring that to life? How do you share that story in a responsible way, in a safe way, and to raise awareness on the issues that are faced with your community? And I know that we remember that we did flash mobs in the informal settlements where the youth felt empowered, and they performed in their vernacular language to their communities, where after they performed, they had that Q&A session where they could ask questions from their community members, and their community members could ask them questions related to the issues that they were facing with. And it was really an opportunity for the art to bring the communities together, to open up dialogue, and to also talk about these issues facing their communities. And you remember that we did this around the country. And some of the issues that came up was alcohol abuse, it was gender-based violence. There are just amongst many, many, many issues, of course. So yeah, so it's not impossible, it's absolutely possible. And I believe that art can bring people together and connect people.
All right. I know that, from the embassy, we know you as Elzaan, our Mandela Washington Fellowship alumni. We know that you're passionate about, arts and the artistic space or the arts industry. Outside there, and when they see you, or when people see you, they see you as this, actress, as this influential person, as this somebody who really loves the theater, who loves the stage, who loves being behind the cameras. Maybe talk to us a little bit in terms of what has been your best acting role so far, and what were some of the lessons learned from those, the characters that you played. How does it feel actually, maybe, acting, being there behind the stage, maybe, yeah.
Okay. Okay, let me start off by theater. I would say I absolutely love theater. One of my biggest highlights, and I would say my career achievements, was playing the narrator in the Charlotte and the Chocolate Factory production. It was a production that was a children's theater production. I also work as a drama teacher. I've always been connected to working as a drama teacher and giving back and working with children. So I absolutely love children's theater. But I would say that that was my first biggest role as an actor in the theater industry, because I got to basically carry the whole play from the beginning till the end, speak throughout. I love speaking, I like talking, I like communicating. And I don't think that there's one small role and one big role. I still also think that you can have a small role and still make it impactful. But I just mean that that was my my first biggest opportunity that I was given. And it took place at the National Theatre of Namibia, on our biggest platform and our biggest theater stage in the country. So in terms of theater, that stood out for me. In terms of television, I would say playing Ronel Beekes in The Third World. The Third World was a television series that played on NBC and that I worked on from season 1 to season 4. Now, in that production, I played a villain. That was my first time playing a villain. Now, if you know Elzaan Josephat, you know me. I'm a friendly person. I love people. I love connecting. I love helping people. But I had to now play a role that was a person that was not a nice person, that was very mean, that was very vindictive, very difficult, and very different from me. So it was an opportunity for me to jump into the shoes of someone else and to experience a different role and a different character. Of course, still bringing my best to it, not judging the character, but still bringing my best to it and living out my passion. But again, at the end of the day, remembering that that is just a role. That is not who Elzaan is. I love to perform. I love to be in movies. I love to work on the television and on the theater, but that is it. So I absolutely would say that that was also one of my career highlights, was working on The Third World.
Thank you, Elzaan. Thank you. I know that, you said that you went on this exchange program in 2015. And as you've also highlighted it briefly, you mentioned that, this year we celebrated the 10th year anniversary of the Mandela Washington Fellowship program, meaning that this program has now been in existence for about 10 years. And maybe also in this 10 year, in terms of its celebration, you did briefly highlight that, you were selected to go and become the Masters of Ceremony at the 10th year anniversary of the fellowship. So maybe just go briefly through it in terms of how did you get selected? How did it feel like, going back to this exchange program 9 years, 8 years after you have went? What were some of the lessons? What were some of the impact? How do you feel about the program from, the year that you went to where it currently is now? So yeah, just really go through with us in terms of how was your feeling and how was the experience?
Thank you so much, Josephat. For me, it was just again a reminder that as a Namibian, as an African, I can actually compete on an international stage. I can absolutely deliver, I can work, I can serve on an international platform. Just to give a little bit of feedback, I was nominated to apply for a leadership award for the 10th year anniversary of this program. As we all know, the Mandela Washington Fellowship program celebrated its 10th year anniversary this year. So initially, I was invited and nominated to apply for this leadership award. So again, I went through an application process where I had to apply, where I had to fill in essays, where I had to attach my CV, and I also had to pitch myself. There was also a requirement for you to record a video and to pitch yourself to it. So I did that when I was in South Africa, because I was traveling for my birthday and I was in South Africa. So I did that while I was in South Africa at the time. I submitted the application. I was confident. I was happy. And then they said they would let you know in June. Come June, I get an email. Elzaan, the application form was very competitive. Thank you for applying. Unfortunately, you did not get it. And I was so heartbroken. I was heartbroken because then the opportunity was not for me. But I will say, Josephat, that I had a sense of peace in my heart. I will say that. Before I opened that email and when I got that no for that email, I just brought that email before the Lord and I prayed over that email and I said, Lord, whatever happens, whatever the outcome is, whether it's a yes, whether it's a no, I'm going to have peace of my heart. So I believe in God. I believe in praying. I also believe in bringing opportunities before the Lord. So I brought that opportunity before the Lord before I opened up that email. And I said, whatever the outcome, Lord, I give it in your hands. I'm going to have peace. So I opened the email. I got my no, I got my answer, and I was a little bit discouraged, as I would be, because I really worked hard on this application. But then I had peace. I had complete peace in my heart, and I decided, let me move forward. I didn't get this opportunity, and I also know that in life there are always opportunities. Some opportunities are meant for you, some are not meant for you, but there will always be another opportunity. I also think I have that conversation with myself that it's not the end of the world, and you can always look forward to the next one, to the next one. There will always be other opportunities. So one day I was sitting in Standard Bank, there in a queue waiting, and then this email came on. I opened my phone. I opened up the email. There the email is, "Hi, Elzaan. We loved your application. We loved your CV. You really stood out for us as an alumni. We want to invite you to come to the fellowship anniversary 10 years later and either be a master of ceremony or moderate or host a panel discussion." So that was the email that they sent me. And I immediately responded and said, yes, I want this opportunity. I immediately responded and said, yes, 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 yes. And of course, they invited me to be a master of ceremonies for this year's fellowship. And then they invited me to host a panel discussion with Africans living and working in the US, and who also have their work currently streaming on the Disney Plus channel. So for me, as a creative, as an artist, it was an incredible experience. And I will also say that I was sad that I didn't get the first time invited for the leadership award, but I was like, but look at this, Lord, you even opened a bigger opportunity, a bigger platform. There I emceed the whole conference, for the entire conference from the beginning till the end, with a fellow alumni from Kenya. And I got to sit on a stage with fellow Africans, inspiring other young Africans in the room, talking about them being an African and having their work, their show, their animation piece currently being streamed on a big US network. So for me, that was even a highlight and an even bigger opportunity. So I want to encourage whoever is out there, if you don't get your yes first, do not give up. I gave up sadly, but I had peace in my heart. But do not give up. Do not give up. Always, always, always do your best. You don't know who's watching. You don't know who's looking. Always serve, always give your best, and your time will come. Your time will come. Put yourself out there, work hard, and never ever give up. One thing that I also would like to say to my fellow Namibian youth and my fellow young Africans, what this experience taught me, it's possible to compete on an international stage. If I tell you, when I climbed off from that stage after emceeing, it was the fellows, the young African leaders, it was the US officials, it was the leaders in the room coming and saying, Elzaan, you did an excellent job emceeing. You were wonderful. And I was like, yeah, I can actually compete on an international stage. I can actually do what I do in Namibia for my community on an international platform. So for me, it was just a eye-opening experience again, a reminder again. I was reminded in 2015, I was taught this, and then I was reminded again in 2024 that as a Namibian, as an African, you can compete on an international stage.
Thank you so much, Elzaan, for that also. And to our viewers and listeners, as I've highlighted, you still have an opportunity to ask Elzaan any question with regards to the exchange program or anything else that you want her to highlight and to also respond to. But I saw that there's also one question here, and the question is, can you tell us more about your new production house or your theater company? Can we sign up our children up for classes? Or is it just adults? And why did you decide to start this company?
Oh, thank you so much for the question. So Zana Productions and Theatre is my own company, my own baby. As I mentioned, I've started to think sustainably. I've started to think long-term. And I thought that entrepreneurship is a trend that everyone is getting into now. Entrepreneurship, people are starting their own businesses. People are creating their own opportunities. So I started this company to empower children through the arts, but not only children from the ages of 4 years old, kindergarten children, up until adulthood. So I cover and I work with all ages. And then, of course, I teach children in the arts, in the theater. And of course, my other big objective was to create opportunities for other fellow youths, So I don't only want to create an opportunity for me and a platform for me, but I also want to create opportunities and platform for other youth, because I also want people to have a mindset shift to not only think that, oh, if you're an artist, you can't make a living of it. I want to change that narrative. And I want people to see and to believe that, you know, art is also an industry that can be respected. Art is also a career path that you can do and that you can actually make a sustainable living of it. Yeah, so please feel free to follow my Facebook page, my Instagram page, Zana Productions and Theatre, send a DM, and then, of course, I can share further information in terms of our classes and our projects that we are doing. We are currently also in the process of setting up a holiday program for December, and then I'm also working on a project called the Namibian Experience that will take place the end of next week, where we also bring arts together and artists together to connect, network, to learn, and to experience our arts and culture.
Thank you, Elzaan, for that. Yes, I have already highlighted that, you know, the Mandela Washington Fellowship program is not only our only program that we have here at the U.S. Embassy. So we have more than one different U.S. exchange program. You can always go to our website or give us a call at the embassy just to learn about, you know, the different U.S. exchange program that we have and how they can apply to you or benefit you as the Namibian people. So we have programs that are for youth. We have programs that are, you know, for adults. We have programs that, you know, that we have for secondary school learners. So there are actually more, and it's just really up to you to see what really applies to you, what speaks to you, and what you are more passionate about. Elzaan, I saw that there's also another question here where it says that, you know, you spoke about meeting international people. How can one meet and network with like-minded people outside Namibia?
I would say absolutely. This is one of the biggest things about the program and about going on these international exchanges. It really gives you an opportunity to connect and to network with international, in my case, international artists or international entrepreneurs, because that is the field that I work in. So I would say expose yourself to the international community. Go to workshops, go to events. There's usually events that the US Embassy hosts. I would also say there is events that other embassies or other consulates host. So I would say connect yourself, network, go to these opportunities, go to these events, take your business cards with you, go and speak. For me, I'm interested in arts and I'm interested in entrepreneurship. So if I see that there's this art event, this entrepreneurship event, I really try and go to this event. I know that we are all busy, we all work, but I really try and make time also. I don't say I go to everything because you can't go to everything. You also have to be selective with how you spend your time and what would be a valuable use for your time. So I would say what really helped me was going on this program. And by going on this program, I went to the US. I had this international exchange, this international experience where I could meet international artists. And as I'm sitting here, I am still in touch with this international artist from 2015. I went again this year. So social media has made it easier. You can connect with them on Instagram. You connect with them on Facebook. So I would also say having a program like the Mandela Washington Fellowship program as a baseline, that already adds credibility to this individual because you get to connect with this individual through a program instead of just a complete stranger that you find on the internet and you don't know if the person is who they say on the other end. But I would say if you're a Namibian right now in Namibia, go to events, connect with events, know what it is you want, go and network and speak confidently about what you do and speak boldly about what you do.
All right. So what connection did you make during your fellowship and how did you use that to improve, you know, work as an artist or as an actress?
Awesome. Thank you very much. I remember in the program, they also paired you up with a mentor, an individual that works in your space or your industry or your field, as well as a peer collaborator. So my mentor that they assigned me with in 2015 was an artist, and my peer collaborator was also an artist, specifically an arts educator, because at the time I also worked in an NGO, in terms of arts education. Now I still do arts education. I'm a drama teacher. But they basically also connected me while I was in the US with these professionals, these experiences. And I had that opportunity to come and to collaborate, to also continue the work here. I also remember that jumping back to staying connected to international communities and looking out for resources and opportunities. I also know that the network of the Mandela Washington Fellowship Program is a very big network. There are a few other conferences and events that I also attended over the years that also deals with leadership. And I tell you, the networks are so connected. You go on this fellowship program, on this conference, and then you meet another Mandela Washington Fellow, and then you meet another fellow from this program. So I would say the international community is a big community, but it's also a very small community. You also meet people that you say, oh, but Josephat went on this program, and I know so-and-so who went on this program. And look at us. You remember when I went to Colombia and I met a young African leader from, what was the country? Was it Mozambique? A young African leader. You were, it was Mozambique, right? You were on a plane on your way to your fellowship program, and you met the same leader that I met in Colombia. Just see how the networks intertwine and how connected it is. But to answer the question, I had the opportunity to connect and to be connected to a mentor and a peer collaborator, and I could also collaborate with them and to continue my work with them coming back. And I'm still connected to all of them till this day. And and you also have that feeling, and that the US now, there is that opportunity.
Thank you, Elzaan, for that also. I think maybe as we are trying to round up also to our conversation today, I have another one question also for you, like, what is needed in the art space really in Namibia? Because I know that, here in Namibia, every entertainment or every space or every working class or every working job, has its ups and downs. But you being an actress, what have you seen as, your most down part about the industry that you're in, and how have you, overcame that obstacles that you face in your sphere?
Sorry, Josephat, can you kindly repeat the question?
So my question is like, what do you think is needed in the entertainment space or in the entertainment industry in Namibia? Because I know that, there has been, you did highlight it also in your speech where you mentioned that, the arts industry, you can't make money, or the arts industry sometimes is not being taken serious. And then, people are really having all of these questions and all of this fear. Even parents also have some fears, like they don't want their children to go and study arts because there's always that question mark of like, how are they going to survive, how they're going to create sustainability. So maybe from your experience, from the couple of years that you've been doing this, what do you think is lacking in the entertainment industry in Namibia, and how do you think that can be addressed?
I would say, I'm not saying this because I love entrepreneurship, but I would say entrepreneurship is lacking. I really believe that it's important to create sustainable mechanisms in terms of creating project. I think it's good to rely on funding. It's good to rely on donors when you're doing a project, whether it's a theater performance or a movie, and you have a grant that you're doing a grant and you're starting off the project. I think funding is important, and I think getting support for your project and your work is important, but I also believe it's very important to work on the sustainability and to really tapping into entrepreneurship and working out a business model for your project where you know that there is an income being generated, that there is something coming in, and your project or your work can continue, and you can actually pay artists. You can actually pay artists. One of the other things that is also, sadly, one of the things is also, and this is from my own experience. There are many times when I take projects, when I take up opportunities where I feel like, no, but I have so much experience. I have so much talent. I feel that the salary can be a little bit better. It can be increased a little bit. And believe me, if I'm sitting here, Josephat, I have done volunteering. I've given, and I always believe in giving. I always believe in giving and serving. But I also believe that as an artist, you need to be paid what you're worth. You need to be paid for your value. I do believe in volunteering. I do believe in giving and also getting exposure and gaining experience. But I feel at some point you also really need to get paid for what you are worth. So my point, coming back to my point, is entrepreneurship is very important. I believe as artists, we need to create businesses. We need to create sustainable models around the work that we are doing and making sure that our work continues, that we keep on creating, we keep on being creative, but we are also creating opportunities for others. And at the end of the day, we're getting a salary and we are able to make a living from our art and our work and doing what we love to do. It's not easy, but I do believe it's possible.
Thank you, Elzaan. I think in rounding off also with our conversation for this afternoon, there are two questions that maybe you can summarize them as we move on. And number one is that, as a drama teacher, how does drama help the development of a child? And then secondly, is there any advice you'd like to give to those who want to take action in the industry?
Thank you, Josephat. My drama students actually had a show on Saturday. So this weekend that just passed, my drama students had a show. They performed in front of their parents, and it was absolutely brilliant. If I tell you, Josephat, if you're in a classroom and you teach drama and you share the skills, the children have fun, the children learn about acting, the children learn about expressing themselves, the children learn about performing, the children learn to speak loudly and clearly, they build connections, they make friends with other friends. That is just one aspect of teaching and training a child and also building and investing in a child. But the moment you see a child on stage and you see that, wow, now the child is even improvising, the child is adding some spices and some stuff that we didn't even work on in the class, but the child is feeling free now. And the parent is sitting in the audience and watching their children on stage, performing confidently with love and expressing themselves. It's an absolutely beautiful thing to see. So I would say that my number one thing why I love working with children is I get to encourage them. It's also an opportunity for you to encourage children. I get to support them. I get to help them, give them the tools and the resources for them to believe in themselves, to build their self-esteem, their confidence. And I just think it's an absolute beautiful thing. I think that we have that opportunity to invest in our children. And if a child performs well, it's actually good for their public speaking. They are able to translate that creative, that performance art skills in their work. They are able to do oral presentations that they might have to do in another class. It also impacts them emotionally, creatively, to think critically, and also affect their academics and not only their creative lives, but also their academic lives. So I would absolutely encourage it. I've seen this over and over again, that a child comes in, a child is shy, and at the end of the day, a child speaks with confidence, a child is out of their shells, and you just get to nurture their hidden talents and to bring them out and to support them and to create that environment, that safe environment where they can express themselves and to be free and to also use the arts. And then, of course, your second question, a call to action for my fellow artists. I would say start your own projects, create your own projects, create your own work. Don't wait for someone to discover you, discover yourself. Time is moving. We started the new year recently. We are at the end of the year already. We are looking ahead in 2025. I would say create your own opportunities, network, be confident, attend events, ask. If people think that, no, you're asking too much, you might seem like you are urag or you just want to talk too much. I say, I don't care. I like to ask questions. I like to gain new information. I also believe that access to information is more valuable than money. So I always encourage people to attend events, to attend conferences, to look into opportunities, into resources. For me, that's the most important thing, access to information and access to opportunities. But create your own opportunity.
Thank you, Elzaan. Last question from my end also is that, how can we use social media to market ourselves or to market, us as artists or as creative people?
Thank you. Social media, you can create your Facebook page, you can create your Instagram page. I would say, of course, it's not free because you still need to have access to a smartphone or a smart device, and you still need to have access to internet. But I would say it is it is possible to do that. I mean, a lot of my opportunities, Joseph, I've gotten through social media because I post what I'm up to. And I'm not posting to brag. But I also still believe it's important to share what you're doing. You also don't know who's watching what you're doing and who you're inspiring, who feels motivated, who feels encouraged. But by you posting that, and I will say that I've received a lot of clients, a lot of customers through posting, through a parent reaching out, someone asking, oh, you do this and that. How can I find out more information? How can I sign up? But as much as social media is an important thing, I would also, as an entrepreneur, what I've realized and what I've seen is word of mouth is just as important. If I do a service, if I come and I work with this group of children, or I deliver this service to a child or to a parent, I do this drama coaching, this theater coaching. If you do a good job, there are very good chances that that parent will speak to another parent and say, oh, there's this woman, Elzaan, that does theater. She coached my child for this acting competition. Let me connect the two of you. So word of mouth and networking is very important in a country like Namibia, and building on your reputation and also making sure that you offer excellent work. It's not only about marketing yourself and putting your work out there, but it's also about delivering, because people speak. We are in an industry where people speak, and if you offer a good service, one person can speak and also become your customer. Networking is important, yeah.
Thank you so much, Elzaan, for that. Any final words, any final remarks from your end before we round up the alumni talk?
I would just say that I am thankful for this opportunity. As I'm sitting here, I'm a proud Namibian, and I feel so fortunate that I had this international experience. And I would encourage anyone who's thinking of applying for this program to apply for this program. It really broadened up my mind to the international world, the international community. As I said, it gave me an opportunity to see that as an artist, as an actress, I can compete and I can work on an international scale, that I don't have to limit myself. It also gave me a bigger love and understanding for the international community. And also, it made me appreciate my country even more. Going out of Namibia, you realize, this is what I love about my country. And it just also invigorates that passion that you have for your country. So I would encourage you, expose yourself. If you have an opportunity to travel, to be in an international environment, take it. But also remember that you are a Namibian first. Also remember that wherever you go, you are representing your country. Sometimes you are the only Namibian in a room. Sometimes you will be the only Namibian that people are exposed to outside of Namibian. So that's also one thing I don't take lightly. When people ask me about Namibia, I also try to speak about the positive things about my country, about the positive things about Africa, and also to help people understand what Namibia is all about and about Africa as well. So I would say grab every opportunity. Information and resources is a powerful thing. Grab them, go for it, believe in yourself, and don't give up.
Thank you so much. That was Elzaan de Vier, our Mandela Washington Fellow alumni for 2015, who just really took her afternoon to share with us, in terms of her experience, having been, gone under this exchange program. As we have highlighted, and as I've mentioned before, is that, this is not our only exchange program that we have at the embassy. We have a couple of different US exchange programs that are there, and you are really more than welcome to either reach out to us via telephone or on our social media platform, or even, on our website, just to see which other exchange programs are there and how you can partake and also be an alumni of our different US exchange program. So for now, until next time, as I've mentioned, our alumni talks happen once a month, where we invite an alumni from a different US exchange program to really come and share their experience, to come and talk about what they do and how the program has really impacted their life. So keep a lookout and keep an eye on our next alumni for our next month to see who they are, what exchange program they've went on, and how you, as an ordinary Namibian citizen, can take part and parcel of those exchange program also. So until next time, Elzaan de Vier, thank you so much for availing your time and for availing yourself to be part and parcel of this. And we really appreciate it from the embassy side, and really wish you all the best in all your endeavors. So until next time, let's keep in touch.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right.